Good evening. Um, Tonight I'd like to share the gospel reading from the daily lectionary, Matthew verses 29 to 36. And it's a difficult reading. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You build tombs for the prophets and decorate the graves of the righteous. And you say, if we had lived in our ancestors, we would not have taken part with them in shedding the blood of the prophets. So you testify against yourself of those who murdered the prophets. Go ahead then and complete what your ancestors started. You snakes, you brood of vipers, how will you escape being condemned to hell? Therefore I am sending you prophets and sages. Some of them you will kill and crucify, others you will flog in your synagogues and pursue from town. And so upon you will come all the righteous blood that has been shed on earth, from the blood of righteous Abel to the blood of Zechariah son of Berechiah, whom you murdered between the temple and the altar. Truly I tell you, all this will come on this generation. Passage comes from late in Jesus' ministry when he was in Jerusalem and he was engaged in confrontations with the religious leaders who opposed him. And a lot of the circumstances aren't necessarily applicable in their specifics. But cutting through the rhetoric, he's accusing the religious leaders of repeating the same mistakes of those who killed the prophets in ancient times. He's saying you're doing the same thing. The teacher said, "Well, yeah, we wouldn't have killed them if we had lived in those days," and Jesus is basically saying, "Well, you're killing them now." Applicability to our to the current controversy around racial and economic justice. Wanted to look back on civil rights heroes such as Dr. King, such as John Lewis, who passed recently. And we think that if we had lived in that time, we would have marched with King, we would have marched with Lewis, or maybe perhaps we do. But it's, it seems men are stuck repeating the same, are stuck in the same situation of racism and white supremacy that those who oppose Dr. King were. Are we any better than those who oppose Dr. King? It's a difficult question. I guess the question is: are we going to reenact the racism of the past with the violence that killed Dr. King and so many others, or can we work through this time of controversy and come out in a new place, come out in a place of true reconciliation? It's a live question. We'll leave a legacy, and I think we need to. What kind of legacy do we want to leave for our children, our grandchildren? What kind of world, what kind of country do we want to leave for them? What kind of world do we want to leave for them? Do we want to leave a world where racial hatred continues? Or do we want to leave a world where conflicts of the past have been reconciled? Dear God, we thank you for the hard words that you spoke to the religious leaders of your time. They remind us that we too have to engage in self-examination in our day. We pray that you would help us to move through this period of not to end up cycling back into the same cycles of racial conflict, reconciliation, even though it will be difficult and costly in many ways. We pray, as we have for so many months, for an end to this pandemic. We pray for those who are working to combat it. We pray for first responders, and those who are working. Help us even in these difficult days to be a witness to your presence. All this we ask in Jesus'